All right, Houston, we are back now with Nancy Furst, sitting at the table now with the chairman of the board. Welcome to Mogul Live TV.
Oh, thank you so much. What an honor to be here.
No, trust me, the honor and the pleasure is all mine. I wanted, and first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your enormous schedule to sit down and talk to us about some pretty important preparation steps that we need to take for success in the upcoming year. We've already talked about your successes as now the chairman of the board for the Houston Association of Realtors, but your career didn't start here. You have a proven track record of being a business mainstay in the Houston area. So I think it would be advantageous to sit down and just kind of pick your brain and hear what your thoughts are about preparations for the 2016 year. Now, before we get into 2016, I really want to talk to you, Nancy, about 2015. I would say we've had moderate successes, but there have been some challenges as well in 2015. So, coming from the place of experience, you've seen trends come and go. You set some and broken some, if I can say that. But talk to us about some of the successes that the Houston market has experienced. Then talk to us about some of the challenges that you've seen in the industry, particularly for realtors and preparation and just kind of where we've been. How do we now capitalize on what we've done well in the industry? And then looking at the challenges, how do we hedge them to now prepare for a successful 2016?
Looking back on 2015, 2014 in real estate was a mega year.
Yeah.
Everyone who was in business in every niche was very successful in real estate. 2015, we came in as a year that was going to normalize. A normal market is where you have approximately 6 months of inventory in each category. We've only had 2.3, 3.2 months of inventory. We're just now beginning to see maybe a 5 months inventory in over $500,000 residential. So we've had a very good year. We are not like we were in the 80s.
Right.
We are more diversified with our medical, aeronautical, and petrochemicals. When the oil prices go down, then the petrochemicals and other industries step up. Our medical profession has had a record year in building hospitals and medical clinics and facilities. So we're still doing very good. We're still selling homes in the majority of the markets.
So what I'm hearing you say is that we've had, in comparison to the national average, Houston is still pretty stealth. We're still
Houston is still robust.
Yeah, robust. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's a healthy economy in comparison to the national averages. But let's look at now some of the challenges that you've seen in the Houston market. What are they? How can we be informed going into 2016? And now how can we hedge what we know to be those challenges for success in the new year?
In some of the areas, in some of the niche markets, the money for loans has tightened. With the influx of the application of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, more regulations are in place, and so that has slowed down some of the closings. People are waiting to see what oil prices are going to do before they upgrade or downsize.
Right.
So those have been a little bit of a challenge this year.
So now, with that being said, and now that we know that those regulations are in place and people are a little bit more conservative, how do we now prepare for a successful 2016? Most folks would think, well, if there are regulations in place or if the market is a bit more conservative, there may not be the opportunity for growth. What are your thoughts on that?
We need inventory. We need the builders to continue to build the homes in the suburbs. We still have approximately 1,200 people a week moving to the Houston marketplace. We do not have adequate housing for all of those folks that are moving here. So we've overbuilt in some areas of multifamily. The A-class apartments, but we still need single-family homes for people to move into.
That is an excellent problem to have, I would say, in comparison to some of the other challenges. So what I'm hearing you say is that our inventory is low, but that's an opportunity still for those folks who are in new home sales to maybe start looking to diversify and expand in new home sales. Would you agree with that?
I would. One of the builders in the Richmond Sugarland area built 700 homes in 2014 and sold all 700 in the 350 price range up. They were building about 500 homes this year.
Wow.
In the same price range, and they're selling those. So we still have pockets of land in outlying areas. We just have to be sure and improve our infrastructure, our transportation, our mass transit, which we don't have very much of.
We don't. And Houston, for us to be such a metropolitan city, we're kind of look for those things. But that brings up a very interesting point. One of our chief objectives on Mogul Life is to really have the national markets begin to look at Houston as a relocation option. And so for those folks who are now taking us up on that, folks are really looking at Houston because the dollar goes farther. We have an excellent quality of living here in comparison to some of the other larger cities. So it's a really viable place to move, whether you're an empty nester, whether you're a family, whether you're an up-and-coming young person and just want to experience the nightlife. Houston is a wonderful option for that. But with that comes, again, the necessity for housing.
Challenges.
There you go.
We don't have enough over 55 properties.
Wow.
See, if the people who are over 55 had a good community to move to and to downsize to, we would have a good influx of inventory coming on the market.
So that's an interesting niche. So for all of you out there who are saying, oh, it's saturated, the market is saturated, I can't find my place, anybody who has a discerning ear just heard that's a nugget there. So maybe that's where we need to start looking for success strategies in 2016. Now, that brings me to my next question. Looking at some of the folks who have been successful, and certainly there's some realtors out there who have had gangbuster years last year, but also speaking to someone who's been in the industry for quite a while, we think about the term trendsetter in the market or in the industry, and that's the folks who usually have the extremely high sales volume, and I mean they're shaking and baking. But I think we throw that terminology out there a little too loosely, and we give it a little too freely. If you were to give somebody the title of a trendsetter, what would be the hallmark of a trendsetter for 2016? What's the characteristic?
I think all of your top producers, your trendsetters, your go-getters, I think they all do their basics every week. There's something that you do today for tomorrow in real estate.
Give us an example.
You know, a lot of people think when you first get into real estate and you go in and you answer the phone's going to ring off the wall and it's going to be $1 million seller wanting you to list their property, and all you have to do is sit there and answer the phone. Well, welcome to the real world.
Yeah, how realistic is that? Not
welcome
very.
to the real world.
Yeah.
In 15 years of being a Texas realtor, I haven't had one of those phone calls yet.
Wow.
Okay? I think the successful people go about every day. You have to sow a seed today for tomorrow. You have to do whatever your company profile is for farming or for mail outs or for mass social media. Whatever your program is, you've got to take time today to develop some aspect of prospecting, recruiting, listing. You've got to do something every day for tomorrow.
If you could if you could give advice on how to prepare for a successful pipeline, A, B, and C, D, what would the day look like? If you
learn how to list.
Okay.
I started my practice by calling for sale by owners. In the industry, it's called FSBO. I started calling for sale by owners. That's how I built my listing practice. Those who list last in this business.
Let's say that again. Give that to me again.
Those who list
last. You need to hear that, Houston. Those who list last. So it doesn't matter how many calls you, well, let me take that back. It's about sales. And that sale doesn't happen without the due diligence.
Exactly.
So what I'm hearing you say is, as soon as your feet hit the floor in the morning, you need to have a plan, a strategy, a discipline to your day, and make sure that you're committed to that regardless, day in and day out. Master the
Even
Monday.
if you don't feel like it,
Yeah.
you need to do something today that will enhance your phone to ring tomorrow. Because when you have signs out on property, when you have listings, you are going to get the calls. Then you need to learn how to turn that call into a viable buyer. Okay? Not everybody that calls on this listing is going to be able to produce a sale on that listing. But if you find out what is your end use, like we sell a lot of land, lots. What is your end use? What do you ultimately want to do with this piece of property? And then you go and say, okay, well, I've got this listing over here that may be better qualified for what you're wanting to do.
So it's really, it behooves us, as my grandma would say, it would behoove us to really become a student of the industry and the market. Now, I'm going to throw a curveball at you because you told us those who list last. But you really, because the market is so diversified, and because it's quite different from the 80s when you could just really plug in and things would just happen. Now it sounds like success is coming to those folks who make it happen. They're intentional about their success and not accidental about their success.
You have a plan and you work your plan.
There you go.
There's nothing new in this. Nothing new at all. There's nothing new under the sun, as
I've
they
heard
say.
that before, yeah.
Okay? Take your plan. Make your business plan. Work your business plan. Don't expect everything to just be handed to you or given to you.
Right.
Those kind of opportunities don't happen unless your mother or your father owns the business and they're going to say, here, son or daughter, take it over. You know. You've got to go out every day and be prepared for the next step.
Here comes that curveball I was going to talk to you about. And we talked a little bit about this off air. The majority of our audience are women. Women leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, etc. We talked about once you become a homeowner, how you're automatically plugged into the political system. Or you automatically become a part of something much bigger than just buying that home. And I'm going to tie it together. We're talking about working your plan, nothing new under the sun, being aware of what's going on. With that being said, and we're in election years right now. We just had a major election here in the city of Houston. How important is it as a business owner and as a woman that we know what's going on with property taxes, what's going on with variances, what's going on with the city government, and what those plans are, one, as a homeowner, secondly, as a professional, to prepare for success in the next year. And I'm going to throw your quote out there before you get to it. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Correct. When you buy a home, you become a property owner. There are entities that tax your property. If you are not familiar with school board elections to know whether or not they're going to increase your property taxes, the county has the right to tax you, the city has the right to tax you, the state taxes you. So you need to be aware of the taxing authorities that are involved with your particular property. All over the city of Houston, not every subdivision has got the same property tax structure.
Correct.
So you need to be aware. When you buy a home, you become part of the community. You care about what your neighborhood looks like.
Absolutely.
If you're not in a homeowners association subdivision, then, there's a niche for everyone, okay? Inside the city of Houston, there are many different types of neighborhoods. But when you become a property owner, you mow your grass, you're concerned about what the neighbors do.
Absolutely.
You're concerned about whether or not, if you have children that play in the street or have access to the street, if you want speed bumps on your street. If you want the street like in Bel Air, they've closed off several of the streets to where they're not through streets anymore because they have so many young families doing the walk thing and doing the family outing thing. So you become part of something bigger than what you initially thought you were when you were just going to buy a home. Because when you buy a home, all of the related industries and everything comes to about 6% of the gross national product. You buy a car, you have insurance. You have insurance on your home. You buy a home, you need furniture, you need dishes, you need curtains. You need all of these things for a home. You get a pet, you become a pet owner. You have a vet bill. You have children, you have doctor bills. You have all of these things that you become something bigger than just, I'm going to go out and buy a house today.
Right. Now, tie all of that in. So work your plan. Nothing new under the sun from a professional standpoint. Now we bring that same paradigm into home ownership, where now we're becoming participants in the process when it comes to taxes and zoning and all of those things that affect our daily lives as a real estate professional. Now tie that one more peg into that. Let's look at it from a personal wealth building component. As a realtor who has to work that plan, work that strategy, become part of something bigger, being a participant in the process, in the neighborhood, in the governance of it. How now do I bring all of that information in to a personal wealth building paradigm as a woman?
Discipline.
Okay.
Discipline to me would be the number one key, because real estate sales, residential or commercial, is commission based. Okay. One day you may have a big commission, one day you may have a small commission. So you need to learn how to budget, budget for your professional needs, budget for your personal
Good advice.
needs.
Good advice. And we hear that day in and day out at the close of the year, discipline, when it comes to food, when it comes to health, when it comes to business. But as you said, there's nothing new under the sun. It's about really being committed to your success and walking out. It's those little things.
Real estate, to me, real estate is all about relationships.
Glad you brought that up.
How you treat people, and not everyone that comes to the table or picks up the phone and calls you is made to be your client.
Right.
Not everyone is going to see things the way you see them. I can't tell you how many young people that I have counseled with, they could not afford a new home. And when you put it black and white on paper and you show them they cannot afford this new home, I can't tell you how many young couples I've talked out of buying new homes.
Talked out of buying new homes.
Out of buying new homes.
Okay.
Pay your debt down, save up to where you can afford the higher house note, or put more money down. So many people today come out of this entitlement attitude. Okay? It goes back to the work ethic. You've got to work for what you have. If you don't appreciate what you have, you may not have had to work for it. It may have been handed to you on a silver or gold or a platinum platter. But most of the people who work for their home, for their goals, they appreciate what they have accomplished.
Absolutely.
And when you can see, just little things in having a home, when you can get out and mow your own grass, some people think, I'll hire that done. But what satisfaction when you see just mowing the grass that you have accomplished.
That's my grass.
You can see that's your piece of the rock.
Yeah.
And when you take care of your piece of the rock, then you can go on. And, obviously, I'm a believer. And I mean, when you take care of the little things, you're given bigger things to take care of.
I really couldn't agree with you more there. And so, and I'm glad you threw that in because we'll talk about pearls of wisdom at the end. But in wrapping it up, what I'm hearing you say is, when we have the success strategy, when we employ the discipline to do that, when we become a part of the process of governance and the
Be
decision
aware.
making, that's
When
it.
you buy a home, be aware of what you're buying into. You're buying a lifestyle. You're wanting to develop your family, whatever it may be, ever how large it may be. But you want to be able to walk to the grocery store, walk to the drugstore. Walkability is a big thing now.
It is.
Being more green, having more green space, park spaces. Well, that means people are speaking to each other now. Neighbors are kind of looking out for each other now. And so, but you become community. And when you become involved in your community, you become involved in your city governance, in your county governance.
Absolutely.
You want to know as much as you can about who's going to represent you on city council. You want to go to as many town hall meetings. Ask questions. Now with the internet and being able to Google and the social medias, you can tap into almost any elected official direct.
Having access to those decision makers affects our profitability in some point, maybe short term or long term. But as a real estate professional, we have to be engaged in not just the marketing of the property, but really now become engaged in the decision making processes. And because at some point that's going to affect our profitability at some point.
And know that when you own a home, so many people buy a home and they forget about the repairs and the money that it costs to own a home, cost versus price.
Now, Nancy, we talked about, and just kind of encapsulate all of that goodness you just gave us about knowing, being a part of the process, the city governance process, employing our plans and our strategies, our business plans, being committed and disciplined to that. How that then leads us into the place of now decision maker, where we're now engaged in the city governance process, and how ultimately all of that affects our personal wealth in the market. With all of that being said, because this is the end of the year and we're now preparing, we're looking ahead to 2016 and all of that, all that it holds, I should say, give us some success strategies. You've given us nuggets of wisdom along the way about the planning, being aware, being involved, but now let's get tangible. What are the tangible steps? So Nancy, what I've heard you say is, first of all, live within your means. That's the first success strategy. Find out where you are, live comfortably within those parameters, do not deviate, don't pass go.
Make
So,
a plan.
that's
Just
the
like
first
you
one.
have to have a plan for everything. Make a plan, work your plan, make it and work it.
And so many of us as women, and this is just another note, we just don't plan our money. We
And
plan
we're not
everything, but
disciplined.
not our money.
We're not disciplined. We haven't been taught. We came out of the Cinderella era. We were not taught.
And she was a fairy tale, was she not?
Exactly.
She's a fairy tale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't grow up and marry a prince and live happily ever after.
Right. You gotta
You
work
know,
at that.
you gotta work
at
it.
that. There you go.
But I mean, women have got to, and they've come a long way, baby.
Yes, we have. Yes,
But we still need to have the mindset that we can do all things.
Come on, I hear where you're going.
We can do all things
Yes.
with Him.
Mhm.
He's our ultimate guide,
Absolutely.
okay? When you really want to do something bad enough, you'll find a way.
So, one, be disciplined. Two, be intentional with your success. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
Be informed, be intentional. Third nugget you gave us was have a budget and live within it, because we're on a commission-based salary, most of us in the real estate industry. So we have to find a way to leverage those times when we're compensated for those times when we're not, and really be smart and savvy with our money in the meantime. So that's 3. Do you have a 4th one for us?
In real estate, you want to learn, I think a lot of agents, and particularly
Education,
is
yes.
the education element. We've got the National Association of Realtors has put out the statistics that the realtors who have designations, for instance, I have the Certified International Property Specialist designation. It's a very coveted
Yes, it is.
designation, okay? They found that the agents who have designations tend to make more money than agents who do not. So I would say invest, by all means, get the CIPS, Certified International Property Specialist. Our world is becoming global. Sugar Land is the most diverse city in the United States, okay? Houston is more global than it's ever been.
Absolutely.
Okay, when I took that course, I learned immediately why the United States, that people of the United States are considered like Wild West cowboys. We want to know just the bottom line. Give me the bottom line, the bottom line. Whereas the world bases their business off of relationships.
That's a good point.
I used to try to do 5 and 6 and 7 meetings a day with clients. Now I do 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon with clients. And then I work in volunteerism and other things during the day. But I try to give my clients quality, my quality time. And you can't do that when you're trying to squeeze 7 of them in one day, in my humble opinion.
So relationship. So let's go back to that the education of the designations. I believe that was 4. So it's discipline with a plan. It's budgeting. It's being intentional with your success. Then it's educating yourself on the process, because we talked about wealth building and lifestyle. So many of us now are watching those infomercials, and we're thinking that overnight success really is overnight. And so what I'm hearing you say, it's a planned strategy, it's intentional, and it cannot happen as a mainstay without educating yourself on the
Educating
industry.
yourself and do your due diligence. You know, do your training. If you know, new agents with companies, do your training with your broker.
Go to those meetings.
Exactly. So many of them do not go. They think they're independent contractors. They do not need to go. You do need to go. There's risk management in all of the brokerages. You learn so much by the mistakes of others. You learn what not to do.
That's 4. So we have to educate ourselves on the process and really become a student of the industry.
Exactly.
We can't just go out there.
And because the laws and the rules
Good point.
and the
You have
regulations
to be informed.
change constantly, you need to stay abreast. You need to go to as many seminars and educational programs and, you know, learn your tools of the trade.
Be discerning in that information too, by the way. Be very discerning in that. So what's the 5th one? What's the last one?
We need leaders who are not building resumes. We need leaders who absolutely care about the involvement, whether you're in the civic club or you're going in for, you know, board of directors at any level. You need to be pure at heart, not building a resume. People can see through building a resume. If you really have the passion and the desire, it'll come forth. And it's like, you know, your talents will have a way made.
I've heard that before somewhere too. I think we're reading some of the same books. So let's sum it up, Nancy. You've given us some pearls of wisdom here. The first one is be disciplined and be committed to the business plan that we set for ourselves. Be realistic in that business plan.
Absolutely.
And be
Set
committed to
short
it.
term and long term. You know, set those goals. there's many places that will help you set those goals, pay off your credit card debt. Several churches, one right across the street, has got a finance committee that meets with people to help them streamline their budgets and get within a program to become debt-free. It's amazing when you pay off your house. It's amazing when you pay off a piece of land. What an accomplishment in this day and time, you know. So have your plan and work your plan.
That's one. Number two, be intentional with your success and not accidental.
Right.
Third, get involved in city government and in the process.
Yes.
Fourth, what was the fourth one you gave us?
Fourth one. Oh, Lord.
Educate yourself on the process.
Education.
Pop quiz for the chairman.
Yes.
Educate yourself on the process and really become a student of the industry and not someone who's fly by night, but be a mainstay.
Right.
And the only way we can do that, according to the statistics, those agents or professionals, you don't have to be an agent, but those professionals who get the designations are those who see long-term success and sustained success.
Exactly.
And lastly, leaders who are involved and who are not building resumes, but are building people, who are building communities.
And you know, it shows when you truly have a passion and you care about people. Real estate is a relationship business.
It is.
It's all about the relationship. And it shows when you absolutely care about people. I do not speak any foreign language, and probably 85% of my clientele is Hispanic or Asian.
Wow.
And I speak no foreign languages, but you've just got to care about your people, care about your clients. You become friends with them. You're dealing with most people. Real estate is the most important decision
Yes.
that they will make in their lifetime. 99% of the people, real estate is the most important decision, financial decision that they will make. And so you need to care about your clientele.
So with that being said, this brings us to the end of our segment, but let me tell you, if you have been listening to us, and I hope you have, you've heard about niches, you've heard about opportunities for growth, you've also heard about what it takes to be a mainstay in the market, not just the Houston market, but as a business professional, there are certain disciplines that we need to employ. Certainly we need to educate ourselves on the process, we need to be decision makers and be involved in the governance of our city. Also, we need to be informed. Go to school, get the education, get the designations, and really become a student of the industry, because the laws change sometimes by the minute. Lastly, this is a relationship-based business. You have to be in it for the right reasons if you're going to be successful. So with that being said, Houston, you now have all you need, in my opinion, to be successful in the 2016 year. Let's now take these tools of the trade given to us by the chairman of the board. Let's employ the discipline. Let's be intentional and not accidental. Be informed, read the fine print. Don't be afraid to ask the dumb question, because there is no dumb question except the one that was not asked. Lastly, be the leader that the community is looking for. And with all that being said, you cannot go wrong when you employ faith and work. You have a winning combination. So I will see you at the pinnacle of success in 2016. Thank you again to the chairman of the board, Nancy Furst. We are here on site at the Houston Association of Realtors. We'll see you at a closing real soon.